video last week, we talked about some of the biggest castles in Westeros, and how the ridiculous scale of the buildings and geography of George R.R. Martin's world building is part of what makes Westeros what it is, and is where some of the charm of it comes from. In this video, we're going to be taking another look at the castles of Westeros, but rather than sheer size, we're going to be looking at some castles with the most interesting quirks or backstories, things that make them stand out from your average medieval style castle. There is one caveat to this, however. I won't be choosing from any of the obvious great seats of Westeros, the Winterfells or Casterly Rocks, the huge monstrous castles, because as I think we covered what makes castles like these special in my biggest castle video last week. What I want to try and do is delve into some of the lesser known castles that have unique features or some special lore. Castles that, while not huge, have elements in their own right that make them stand apart from the others in Westeros. The Wielder of Dawn is always given the title Sword of the Morning, and only a knight of House Dane who is deemed worthy can carry it. The writings of Maester Yandel, the world of ice and fire, Dawn. The Andals arrive. To me, Starfall, the seat of House Dane in Western Dawn near the border of the Reach, stands out more than most Dornish castles, thanks to its unique origin, and how that origin could maybe play a role in the future of the story. That's if you believe certain fan theories. Regardless, Starfall would still stand out thanks to its compelling location, and the brief role it plays during the main book, and the associated mysteries that come with that. Starfall was located in the Western Red Mountains, on an island in the Torrentine River, where it pours into the Summer Sea. There is some debate just how much this impacts Starfall. Some official art of Starfall and some descriptions in text imply that the river, while fast flowing, isn't that deep. So much so, fording it to reach the castle might be possible. But there is a lot more text that tells us that the Torrentine is a very deep and fast moving river, deep enough for a person to easily get swept away into the Summer Sea by the current. My theory that it could in fact be both of these, and that maybe the island in the Torrentine where Starfall is located could be Tyle. This reminds me a bit of the Mont Saint-Michel in France, and how you can only access the island by foot depending on the tides. In fact, the description of Starfall's structure and its towers also give me a similar vibe. According to legend, Starfall was built where the first Dane found a magic stone after he followed the path of a shooting star. The meteorite that was found was forged into the famous greatsword of House Dane, Dawn. The blade is said to be as pale as milk glass, and unlike Valyrian steel, but similar in strength and sharpness. Unlike the other houses who have ancestral swords, House Dane do not pass it down from lord to heir. Only a knight of House Dane who is deemed worthy can wield the sword, and is given the title the Sword of the Morning, and is envied throughout the Seven Kingdoms. Now, the Danes have said to have wielded the blade for 10,000 years, or so the stories say. Even if this is true, the blade is that old, it's highly unlikely that Starfall, in its current state, is the same age. More likely than not, there were several earlier iterations of the castle, smaller and built with less durable material, such as wood. In the aftermath of Robert's Rebellion, Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, perishes at the Tower of Joy defending the tower, along with his fellow Kingsguard knights from Eddard Stark and his small band of Northmen as they attempt to rescue his kidnapped sister, Lyanna Stark. Before returning home north, Eddard returns Arthur's sword, the ancestral blade Dawn, to Starfall. But the most curious part of this tale is that Arthur's sister Ashara threw herself from the castle's Palestone Tower into the waters below. This is a huge mystery, and one that could potentially have implications on the story to come, depending on what fan theories you believe. Some say Ashara did this due to the grief of the loss of her brother, others that she'd given birth recently to a stillborn child, with Eddard Stark or his brother Brandon, the rumoured father, given how it's established she had some kind of relationship at least with Eddard, and the grief of the loss was just too much for her to bear. Some also say she could in fact be the mother of Jon Snow, and in fact this is a rumour that we hear several times from characters in the books themselves, and that she threw herself from the tower when the babe was taken by Eddard back to Winterfell. Regardless of the truth, the geography and construction of Starfall and the rapid waters of the Torrentine really allowed for these kind of mysteries to exist. There are some even wilder theories out there, such as her being the true mother of Daenerys Targaryen, and there's even one that she's Septa Moore. Two very simple theories that we shall dive into in more detail another time, but the idea is the nature of Starfall and the Torrentine River is what allows these theories to exist. There are also some fans who speculate that Dawn could actually be the legendary Sword of Prophecy Lightbringer, given the blade was literally made with the heart of a falling star. But as of right now, there isn't really much lore that can prove this idea either way. But all these ideas and mysteries, especially the origin of Starfall, is what really makes this castle stand out. The crag is not far from Tarbeck Hall and Castamere. You'd think the Westerlings might have ridden past and seen the lesson there. Maybe perhaps they have. They are well aware of Castamere, I promise you. Tyrion Lannister and Tywin Lannister, A Storm of Swords, Chapter 19, Tyrion 3. I find the ruined seat of House Frey, Castamere, fascinating. Not just because it's a one-of-a-kind castle in Westeros, but just how closely linked to the legend of Tywin Lannister and the very act that made him a feared and respected figure across Westeros it is. Famous or infamous, is for the reader to decide. By the time of the main books, Castamere is a ruined castle, located south of the crag and west of Ashmark in the northwestern Westerlands, and was the now former seat of House Frey of Castamere. Castamere contains gold and silver mines that would have been comparable with the wealth of Casterly Rock. It's named after a nearby pool of water. Castamere began as a mine like Casterly Rock that was slowly fortified. After building a curtain wall to guard the entrance with two stout towers, the Rains constructed a small keep on the surface. As more gold and silver was mined, the empty shafts below were widened and converted into halls, galleries and bedchambers, and a vast underground ballroom. While the surface fortifications resembled those of a minor lord or a landed knight, 9/10 of the castle was subterranean. The Casterly Rock comparison makes a lot of sense. But rather than building into effectively a mountainside, House Frey created a subterranean seat, which like the rock is very hard to attack and easy to defend. Given the history between House Lannister and House Frey, these mirroring similarities make sense. The rich veins of gold and silver allowed House Frey to become nearly as wealthy as House Lannister during the Age of Heroes. Many notable people have been to Castamere. The likes of Rhaena Targaryen and her dragon Dreamfire briefly stayed at Castamere with the Rains in 51 AC. King Jaehaerys the Conciliator visited the castle in 55 AC. And Kevan Lannister, the second son of Lord Tytos Lannister and brother to Tywin, served as a page and then squire to Robert Rain, the Lord of Castamere. Following the War of the Nine Penny Kings, tensions arose between the Rains and the Lannisters during the weak rule of Tytos. Castamere was later where the opposing sides met to exchange hostages to ensure peace, but peace was short-lived. During the ensuing Rain-Tarbeck revolt, the Rains retreated into Castamere after the destruction of Tarbeck Hall, with Roger Rain wounded and many of their men killed in battle. Roger's brother, Renard, abandoned the surface castle for the safety of the mines and its oak and iron gate. In theory, while the Rains were trapped inside their seat, House Lannister had no real way of taking Castamere, and were in for a long siege, with the only option really starving the Rains out. But it would be a long, maybe years-long siege, given the amount of food and supplies that were inside Castamere. Lord Tytos' heir, Sir Tywin, ignored Renard's offer of peace, and had his miners bury Castamere's entrance beneath stone, blocking the only way in and out of the castle. He then dammed the nearby pool's stream and diverted it into the mine entrance, flooding the underground chambers of Castamere and drowning all those trapped inside. Tywin also had the surface buildings put to the torch. House Frey was wiped out in a single move, and Tywin Lannister would become renowned for good and ill for his handling of the house. Every single Rain died that day. Every man, woman and child drowning in the very tunnels that in theory made Castamere such a powerful stronghold. The fate of the Rains in Castamere is remembered in the song, The Rains of Castamere, at the end of the War of Five Kings, for their part in the downfall of House Stark. House Spicer receives Castamere, and Sir Rolf Spicer is named Lord of Castamere. Rolf's sister was Sybil Spicer, whose daughter, Jane Westerling, married Robb Stark, which played a key role in the young wolf's downfall. The gatehouse towers emerged from the rain like ghosts, hazy grey apparitions that grew more solid the closer they rode. The Frey stronghold was not one castle, but two, mirror images in wet stone, standing on opposite sides of the water, linked by a great arched bridge. The thoughts of Catelyn Stark. A Storm of Swords, Chapter 49. Catelyn 6. The Twins is the seat of House Frey in the northern Riverlands, located south of the Bogs of the Neck and west of the King's Road, a fortified crossing of the Green Fork of the Trident. The Twins consists of identical castles on each side of the river and a tower in the middle of the bridge which connects them. It is one of the most formidable strongholds in all of the Seven Kingdoms, and plays a key role in the history of Westeros due to its unique position in the Riverlands, and thus its role in key events such as the War of the Five Kings in the main books. The Twins' position on the Green Fork of the Trident is the only crossing point over the Trident for hundreds of leagues in either direction, from the north to the western Riverlands. It lies directly aside the main route from Winterfell to Riverrun. The castle has a high curtain wall, deep moats, and a barbican and portcullises in each of the Twins. Channels have been dug from the moats, turning each castle into an island. Scorpions can be placed on the battlements. Each castle has its own courtyard, and the Freys can slide planked bridges from Sallyport to cross their moats. In effect, each of the castles that make up the Twins on its own is a highly defendable position, and extremely challenging to siege and attack. Thus, it would make it much easier to negotiate with the Freys than try and brute force your way across the Twins. But it's more complex than that. If you take one of the Twins, you still have to cross the bridge, being funneled slowly down the bridge, all the while being peppered with arrows. You then have to take the central tower, and you still then have to siege and attack the second castle. The bridge is guarded in the middle by the water tower, which also has command over the Green Fork, being able to attack shipping passing below the bridge. The actual seat of the Lord of the Crossing is located in the Great Hall of the East Castle, the seat itself of black oak, tall and massive. Its back is carved into the shape of two towers joined by an arched bridge. House Frey has held the crossing of the Green Fork for 600 years, beginning when a petty lord built a rickety wooden bridge over the narrowest portion of the river. It took the family 3 generations to complete the bridge in stone, after which they built timber keeps on each bank of the river. The Freys have grown wealthy by charging a heavy toll on those who need to cross, a fact which irks many of the older and more powerful houses. Given their strong castle, strategic location, wealth and numbers, the Freys are one of the most powerful bannermen sworn to House Tully, now able to raise about 4,000 men. The crossing would play a very minor role in key events such as the Dance of the Dragons, with Stark men stopping at the Twins on their way south, but its biggest impact comes during the War of the Five Kings, when Walder Frey exerts a high price for Robb Stark to cross the Twins, a marriage pact with one of his daughters, in the hopes of crossing quickly. The Freymen would play a key part in Robb Stark's fighting forces during the war, but of course, it would be Robb breaking this very marriage pact and the subsequent Red Wedding which places the Twins in the more infamous rather than famous category. We've had hundreds of pieces with the Brackens, many sealed with marriages. There's Blackwood blood in every Bracken, and Bracken blood in every Blackwood. The old king's peace lasted half a century, but then some fresh quarrel broke out, and old wounds opened and began to bleed again. That's how it always happens, my father says. So long as men remember the wrongs done to their forebearers, no peace will ever last. So we go on century after century, with us hating the Brackens and them hating us. My father says there will never be an end to it. Host of Blackwood to Jaime Lannister. A Dance with Dragons, Chapter 48. Jaime 1. Raventree Hall is the seat of House Blackwood in Blackwood Vale in the Riverlands. The castle was located north of Riverrun, southwest of Old Stones, and west of Fairmarket. Iron Man's Bay is to the northwest. Raventree has a high, ancient stone wall with moss climbing up it. It consists of 2 huge square towers flanking the gate, and a square tower at each angle of the wall. It also is defended by a deep moat lined with stone. Inside the walls is a muddy outer ward and a cavernous timber keep. Raventree Hall is a very old castle dating back to the First Men, and much like the others of this time period, is certainly showing its age, but not in a negative way, but in a sort of everlasting sense, such as great seats like Winterfell. Lord Blackwood's solar in the keep is large and airy, with great beams of dark oak. Wall tapestries adorn its walls, with lattice-work doors with panes of diamond-shaped yellow glass overlooking the ancient godswood of Raventree Hall. It's one of the very few godswoods south of the Neck still to possess a weirwood tree, due to House Bracken being one of the few houses outside in the north to worship the old god. Their weirwood, in the Godswood, has been dead for centuries, but is of colossal size. Every evening at dusk, hundreds of ravens come and roost all night on the dead weirwood, as they have for thousands of years. A Blackwood legend claims that Raventree's great weirwood was poisoned by the Brackens. It is believed the Blackwoods made Raventree their seat in the Riverlands after they were driven from the Wolfswood by the kings of House Stark thousands of years ago. What makes this weirwood of Raventree Hall so significant for me is the fact that Bloodraven, aka Brendan Rivers, one of the bastard sons of King Aegon IV and Melissa Blackwood. It's not clear how much of a connection Bloodraven had with Raventree Hall, given it seems he was born and grew up in King's Landing, spending much of his adult life there too. But it's hard to look past who Bloodraven is and the connection of House Blackwood with the old gods, and of course their weirwood tree. Andals and Ironmen, Freys and other fools, all those proud warriors who set out to conquer Greywater, not one of them could find it. They ride into the neck, but not back out. And sooner or later, they blunder into the bogs and sink beneath the weight of all that steel and drown there in their armour. Jojen Reed to Bran Stark, A Storm of Swords Chapter 24, Bran 2. Greywater Watch is the seat of House Reed and is technically part of the North, with House Reed bannerman of the House Stark of Winterfell. Greywater Watch is located in the eastern headwaters of the Green Fork, in the deep swamps of the Neck, southwest of Moat Cailin, or supposedly southwest of Moat Cailin. What makes it stand out among all the other castles in Westeros is not just its location, but its construction. It's a castle built upon a crannog, one of the man-made floating islands of the swamps of the Crannogmen of the Neck. This means the castle effectively floats, and it does not stay in the same place, making it all but impossible for ravens or enemies to find it. It seems this method of defense has worked, as historically, Ironborn and later Andal invaders, as well as the Freys, who reside further south on the Green Fork, have attempted to conquer Greywater Watch, but none have actually been able to find it. Many of the invaders rode into the bogs and sank because of their armour. Many would get lost in the countless winding paths, or walk into the murky waters, unable to see due to the thick morning fogs. It also seems that one man knows how to contact House Reed and Greywater Watch, Eddard Stark, the Lord of Winterfell, during the main book series. Bran Stark notes that his father has exchanged many letters with his close friend Howland Reed, who is the Lord of Greywater Watch. It's not clear if Eddard has this knowledge, being the Lord of Winterfell, and thus House Reed's liege lord, or due to his close friendship with Howland Reed. The location alone makes Greywater Watch stand out among all the other castles of Westeros, but the floating and moving aspect of it truly makes it different and special.